Rockstar Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone join the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button on your way in or on your way out, whichever the case you choose. Your host is always the Rockstar Report, and I appreciate every single one of you guys that are come and join this live stream every single night. Yesterday we did 6 p.m. I was able to do it earlier, but tonight we're back to our normal schedule, back at 8 p.m. EST. So I appreciate you guys. Basically, we're going to go and rewatch the Dan Morgan press conference. We're going to go rewatch the Dave Canales press conference, and I'm going to give you basically my thoughts and what based off of what they're saying, give you my thoughts on what I thought they said, right? Or basically kind of just giving you some notes, okay? So without further ado, make sure you do these 3 things before we get started. That's really it. That's very simple, very easy. Shout out to BetUS, sponsorship of the live stream, of course. Sign up for free today. Link is in the link tree. It's in the description of this live stream. Sign up for free today. Get 125% bonus up on your first bet, up to $2,000. Without further ado, let's dive right into this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, no, that's over there. We need to go over here. Hell no. Oh, gosh. Wrong one. Stop sharing. Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, let's put this in full screen so you guys can see it. Without further ado, let's dive right into it.
Hello.
Injury situations, updates. Did Xavier have a foot and ankle deal? Did he have to have a wrist?
So nothing with the wrist. I know he said something during the season, but I think our doctors and his side evaluated that and felt like surgery wasn't needed. I think he needs the off season just to kind of heal up a little bit from the wrist perspective. From the foot perspective, he was having some discomfort in his foot pretty much all season. So we decided to do a little procedure on that. I think it's more of a short term. In terms of recovery, I think it's more short term. So he'll be running sooner than later, and he'll be ready to go.
Brooks, when would you?
Yeah, I don't think we're really going to put any timeline on Brooks. Obviously had a surgery on the same ACL. Really unfortunate injury. Definitely disappointed for him, disappointed for us.
Of course. Cannot be YouTube without ads, ladies and gentlemen.
Not going to put any timeline on it now, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
All right, so basically the first 2 questions were talking about injury updates. Obviously, the first one was about Xavier Leggett avoiding wrist surgery, which is good news. He did have to have a procedure on his foot. And based off of what Dan Morgan just said there, the team expects to be a short-term issue, so nothing too concern. Obviously, Leggett, in my opinion, showed flashes of explosiveness out of South Carolina. The Panthers, obviously, they hope that from a Leggett standpoint, he can contribute early in his rookie season, but then you also, let's see what else. There's some other injury news, but they were also talking about Jonathan Brooks. No timeline yet, meaning the status remains a giant question mark. And so the Panthers, and like the rest of the league, are probably waiting to see how his recovery progresses before determining their next steps in the backfield. Now, if Brooks is unable to return at full strength quickly, in my opinion, I expect Dan Morgan in this front office to look towards free agency or to the draft to add another dynamic playmaker at that position. But I don't think we're going to see Brooks come back this season. I mean, I just don't. I don't think he'll play a single snap this upcoming season. That's just my opinion.
With Trevor Wallace and shoulder surgery,
Yeah.
Done that, and what's his outlook?
Yeah, so Trevin had surgery on his shoulder. He's doing well. He's out of the sling now, rehabbing, feeling good, and excited about his future.
How much did that?
Okay, so that's good. Trevor Wallace fresh off of that shoulder surgery, and as you heard, out of the sling, pauses that forward. Obviously, the timeline remains. We're not sure, but obviously, the big goal, ultimate goal here is to get him back fully healthy. He's definitely going to be a key for this linebacker core this upcoming season, and especially now that Shaq Thompson's out, and we don't want to rely on Claudin Churlis and these other guys back there. So, but Trevor Wallace, of course, and Josie Jewell are still here, but definitely going to be, I think, going to be looking for them to, obviously, I think that's going to be one of the big positions that they look into fixing in this upcoming draft. So, which we've talked about that multiple times.
No, I don't think that really had anything to do with that. I think Shaq, obviously a great player, great person. We're definitely going to miss him in the building, in the community. But yeah, he, we're disappointed that, Shaq's not going to be here anymore, but we're also really excited about Trevin and his future.
Centers and positions, it seems a little up in the air. You guys have invested heavily in the tackle and guard positions. Where are you at with Austin? I think push back that deadline, but also.
Yeah, we're talking to the agents. Myself and Brant are talking to agents and both guys. We're talking to them and working on things right now and trying to get things hammered out and get them back as Carolina Panthers. Yeah, building around them moving forward. I think it goes for the team as well. We're just looking, and I said it before in other presser, we're just looking to bring playmakers in here on both sides of the ball. And obviously we want as many playmakers as possible on the offensive side of the ball, and same thing on the defensive side of the ball. So, we're.
So that part before he started talking about this, he's talking about retaining key players. So when he said he's talking to agents, they were talking about guys like confirmed, like he basically is doing the negotiating game already and he just confirmed this right there that he is talking to Austin Corbett and Cade Mays' agent. He's aiming to keep them in Carolina. Obviously you want to keep those guys in Carolina because Corbett, when he's healthy, he is solid as a rock. But the price has to be right to keep Corbett. K. Mays, I think it's the same thing. Wasn't very good when he got here. And then all of a sudden things changed when Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt and then a whole new coaching staff came in, right? And your offensive line, all last season finished in the top 10 of the lowest passer rate. I think we finished ninth or something like that overall. Something like that. Maybe even higher, actually. I'd have to go look at it. But obviously the offensive line play being a rare bright spot in an otherwise 2023 season. But keeping the continuity up front would be a wise move. Because in the 2020 last season, man, this offensive line was, stacked and did very well. Icky stepped up. Taylor Moton still is doing his thing. and it sounds like they're trying to keep Taylor Moton around. I think they want to either extend him or they're going to restructure him, but they want to keep him here, which as they should. But with him saying that, and he's talking to both Cade Mays and Austin Corbett's agent, clearly he recognizes the importance of keeping that foundation intact, right? Then you look at Eddie Pinheiro, punter, Johnny Hecker. The Panthers are letting both guys test free agency, right? Morgan left the door open for their return. It's clear the team is also looking at other options. But let's continue to dive into it. Obviously, the roster strategy, defense is right here. He's talking about is taking center stage. But let's continue.
Just going to bring the best players in here and not so much focus on just building it around a particular person.
Best players, but I mean, last offseason it was very clear that the offensive side of the ball was a priority. Are you coaching this offseason trying to fix the defensive side of the ball as well?
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious that we need help on the defensive side of the ball, whether up front, at safety, at corner. There's a lot of holes to fill there, a lot of work ahead for us. I think defense is definitely a point of emphasis, but we're also not going to neglect the offensive side of the ball either. So we're going to try to get the best players in here and create competition and just do it that way.
College players have been opting out of bowl games now for quite a few years, but some are opting out of regular season games, making more business decisions than just from injury. How do you evaluate those players going forward?
Yeah, I'm really not going to hold it against them if they decide not to play in a bowl game or do what's best for them financially. I think it's no different than anybody else in any other job that they're going to do what's best for them and their situation and their family. So I don't really hold that against them. Yeah, I think Travis is, obviously an exceptional talent. He can do it all. That's no secret. But yeah, I think he can play both sides of the ball. And, I think it's just really up to the team to decide that, whatever team drafts him.
And as an evaluator, when you see a guy who can potentially play multiple positions, how cautious do you have to be about maybe spreading a guy too thin as a rookie and potentially affecting the value of center? Like whether they can play outside linebacker, inside linebacker, safety, linebacker.
In terms of like value?
Just value, but also like understanding that these guys are just entering the league and you might not want to mess with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I do think that, we do look for versatile players, whether on the offensive front or on the defensive front, because it gives you a lot of flexibility on game day. But yeah, to your point, depending on where you draft this guy, is the guy, a high draft pick or is he a developmental guy? I think that kind of plays a factor in that question.
Great.
Stupid ads.
Guy, I think that kind of plays a factor in that question.
Dan, how much did the Eagles' performance pass rushing Mahomes just serve as sort of a reminder, as well as you guys can Kansas City, of the value of the defensive line depth?
Yeah, I don't think we needed the Eagles game to understand that. I think both sides of the ball, you have to win the line of scrimmage. You have to be bigger, you have to be tougher, you have to be more physical. And that's what we're looking to do around here. We're looking to build that defensive line like we built the offensive line last season, give the fans a good product on the field, give all of us a good product on the field. And we're excited. We're excited about the guys in free agency. We're excited about the guys in the draft. And we think we can fill some of those holes.
That was probably a better way to phrase it. They threw both draft capital and money at the defensive line, and the results spoke for themselves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think obviously where your resources go, is where you see, the value. And I think it's pretty obvious that the offense and defensive fronts, they have to be strong in this league or you really don't have a chance. So we have to make sure that we stay strong on the offensive side of the ball, and we have to build it the right way on the defensive side of the ball.
Along those lines, it seemed like the college teams that lasted the longest in the playoffs.
All right. So basically, also he was talking about again bringing these guys back. Before we got into the whole draft strategy, he was talking about bringing guys back. Of course, like we mentioned, okay, Mays, Austin Corbett talking to agents and stuff. But then he talked about these other guys. They're not stopping these guys like Hecker and Pinheiro and Trimble to test their market value. If the price is right, they'll bring them back. They don't want to overpay. And this is a no-nonsense approach to a roster building. We talked about it last night, right? And that's the way you want to rebuild this, right? Ensuring that resources are allocated wisely without getting caught in that emotional overpays for players who may not be the long-term solution. Now, the roster strategy, he talked about it. Defense takes the cake here, right? We need he obviously understands and he knows this, obviously being a defensive guy, right? He knows that this offseason, it's about defense. And the team spent last offseason to fortify that offensive line, which they did. And then this year, it's obviously time for them to beef up the defensive front. So I expect Dan to prioritize that defensive line in free agency and the draft, and especially given how the opposing quarterbacks had all day to throw last season. Now, here's the thing, and maybe this is a hot take, but I could see Dan Morgan pulling what he did last offseason, where he went in and signed two big decent named, or one big name and a very good, I would say very decent. I don't even know if I would say like a big name as in Damian Lewis, but obviously a very good left guard, but a big name right guard. Maybe he goes out and does the same thing and signs two big major contracts on two interior defensive linemen, and then that goes into the draft like we saw last year. And look how that worked out. The offensive line is solidified, right? So maybe he takes that approach that he did with Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. He signs two big defensive linemen, right? In free agency. Somehow he makes that magic happen. All right. Because I mean, again, we know the defense struggled mightily last season, particularly in getting after the quarterback. Of course, a lack of consistent pass rush made life miserable for our secondary. And despite having some solid pieces you that couldn't hold under pressure, fixing the defensive line isn't just about adding talent. It's about really changing the entire dynamic of the defense, right? A strong pass rush makes everything easier, right? You're forcing bad throws to limit big plays downfield. I've said it before, I say it again. An elite pass rush makes an average secondary look elite, right? Now, again, we also got to talk about, the interior defensive line, could not get any pressure up the middle either, right? I think a true nose tackle is needed, especially in this 3-4 defense. If you can't get any interior, if you can't get any outside pressure, you got to be able to get some interior pressure. You also have got to be able to stop the run. So again, even though I feel that the defense is priority number one, right? That does not mean that I feel like we should just neglect the offense entirely, right? I feel that the message is clear here, ladies and gentlemen. Fixing the defense is the primary goal. You got key holes to fill, particularly along the defensive line and the secondary, right? But the Panthers, I think Dan Morgan's going to be aggressive in addressing those issues. All right. And I think Morgan and this coaching staff will be well aware that a dominant defense can elevate a struggling team And that's exactly what I think they're aiming to build. I think that's exactly what they're aiming to build here.
Very line of scrimmage based. How would you rate college linemen today versus maybe 15 years ago? Some of the spread offensive tackles then to now, have they gotten better to where they're more ready?
Yeah, I think they've maybe evolved from like an athletic standpoint. There's a lot of good athletes out there right now on the interior offensive line and at tackle, and then some of these centers as well. So I think you're just seeing a lot of different body types at these different positions, and honestly, it makes it easier on us to pinpoint how they're going to fit and what their role is going to be on our team.
How would you assess the state of the wide receiver room? Do you guys think that you are in search of the number one wide receiver?
I love our wide receiver room. I think with Thielen, with Coker, with Xavier, we have some guys in that room that we're really excited about. We have a young core of guys that are still developing. From a fundamental standpoint, from route running standpoint, and then Thielen, obviously, he's.
By the way, I haven't even watched this. So this is the first time I've watched this press conference, guys, by the way. So obviously Twitter has it all over the damn place. Let's be honest. Twitter has it all over the damn place, but this is my first of watching it. Phaeton does come in and goes, "You're spitting that fire tonight, bro." Appreciate that, Phaeton, coming in hot with that. Basically $2 donation, $1.99, whatever you want to call it. I appreciate you, my guy. Since we're at the NFL Combine and we're talking about it, I'm going to hit you with this. Appreciate that, Peyton. I appreciate that.
Old reliable in terms of he's savvy. He knows where to be. The quarterbacks can depend on him. So we feel good about that. And then going back to your question, I think that, we have to definitely, it'd be nice to just find as many playmakers as possible. So, if we pinpoint a guy, whether in free agency or in the draft, then we wouldn't hesitate to either draft or sign him.
But to follow up on Alex's question, would it be fair to say that speed is an ingredient you play to both sides of the ball?
Yeah, and I think speed is definitely a factor, when you talk about any position. You want to be fast, you want to be physical. So, yeah, that is a point of emphasis for us as well.
How do you kind of balance trying to fill a starting lineup with free agency in the draft? I mean, is there a threshold for how many rookies you're comfortable playing?
Yeah, I think, knowing Coach Canales and knowing the program that he came from under Pete Carroll it's a developmental program, and Dave looks at it like that. So in terms of us, whether it's getting something in free agency or getting something in the draft, I don't think Coach really cares. Like he wants to develop players. He takes it as a challenge, and he's not scared to play young guys. So and that's what you love about him.
Along those lines, four of the first 5 picks last year were 21-year-olds when they really brought him in. Is that purposeful? Are you looking for youth to influence the talent?
Yeah, I think we do like young guys. I mean, it's not going to sway us one way or another, but it is nice to have young guys that can grow and develop, especially on a team that's building a locker room, building a culture, and building a team. So it's nice to have some of those young guys, but you also have to mix in some of these veterans too, just to kind of show these guys the way.
Do you think the trade market for these early first-round picks is any stronger this year and weaker? Like, how have conversations going so far?
I think it's too early for that right now. Definitely nobody's called us for anything, and I haven't heard of anything. Yeah.
And to follow up on Fred's question up there, when you are looking at multiple timelines, because you and Brent have to do it, right? Does it appeal to you to draft a guy who's 20 or 21, knowing that you could get that second contract with them at 25? I mean, obviously it's advantageous for them, but from your standpoint, long-term building and sustaining, is there something you talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit it right on the head. So, yeah, getting those guys young, they develop, and then you hit them on their second contract, and they're still 24, 25 years old. I mean, that's ideal, obviously. So it definitely plays a factor,
What up,
but every
Zach?
situation's different.
We haven't talked to you since Dalton's signing. Tell us about that and why it was important to bring him back.
I say that again, sorry. Oh, Dalton. I think obviously Andy, just his resume and what he's done in this league, to have a quarterback in a backup role that's won as many games. He's been in playoff games. He brings that experience. So first and foremost, having him back for that reason. And then also, him and Bryce have such a good relationship. The chemistry's great in the quarterback room. So that's not something that we really wanted to mess with. And we're just excited to get him back.
All signs indicate that Eddie Canales is intended to leave this season. What was the thinking behind that? And are you planning on bringing in another kicker to involve with the job?
Yeah, we're still going through all that. Brant, myself, and Coach Canales, just really what the plan is there. We are going to let Eddie test the market. He can kind of, his agents can be here. They can kind of see like what is.
I told y'all they were going to let Eddie test the market. I told y'all, and they should. And then he talked about veteran. Another thing, why I'm gonna pause it real quick, is you heard obviously him talk about Andy Dalton. Obviously in Dan Morgan's eyes, he obviously remains a value presence in the locker room. Obviously he made it perfectly clear that they want him, and emphasizing his resume, his experience, right? The chemistry he's built with Bryce. So it's no secret that Bryce Young had a brutal rookie year, right? And to me, you keeping a steady veteran like Dalton around could help stabilize things as the young quarterback tries to obviously continue to develop, right? After bouncing back last season, the last 10 weeks really of the season. So I mean, the quarterback position is the most scrutinized one in the league. We all know that. Obviously, having a reliable backup like Dalton for Bryce, I do think it is a major asset. I think it's a very smart move in that regards. And whether to mentor Bryce Young or if step in if need be, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And obviously, I think he's been a great mentor so far to Bryce, for sure. So let's continue.
Value is definitely not going to close the door on that, but at the same time, we will be actively looking. Johnny's another guy that we've talked about bringing back, and we'd like to bring back. Brant's talking to his agents, and
yep, another guy. I said that. I mean, again, they want to bring these guys back. Like I said, Johnny Hecker. I mean, they want to bring him back, but the price has to be right. It's the same thing with that I told you guys, that it comes down with it when it comes to Cade Mace and Austin Corbett and these guys. They're open to let them test the market, okay, but they want to bring them back as long as the price is right. Again, this is the thing that I'm talking about. Like they're willing to bring these guys back, but they don't want to overpay. We're used to being to overpay. Scott Fitter would overpay guys, right? That's why we were in such dead cap hell. So again, I told y'all this no nonsense approach, roster building, and ensuring that every resource is allocated for and wisely without getting caught in these emotional overpay bullshit that we've done in the past for players who end up not even being the long-term solution, has got to stop. And that is one of the biggest key takeaways I'm taking from this press conference right now. All right. Panthers gal, I understand what you're saying here, but I think it's a smart move. It's what he just said is bringing Dalton back is a value presence in the locker room because of his resume, because of the experience and the chemistry he's built with Bryce. And I think the mentorship that he brings towards Bryce, right? That is a major asset when you have a young quarterback who's still developing, right? but also it's good to have a reliable backup as well. It's a major asset now in the NFL because having a reliable backup, let's say your quarterbacks, your starting quarterback's out for, I don't know, a couple games, but you have a winning record, but you need a guy to keep win you a couple games, or let's say you're out for 4 games, your starting quarterback's out for 4 games, you need him to go to like 2-2 to kind of keep you in a safe spot heading into the playoffs. That's where those guys come in. That's where those reliable backups come into play. I mean, hell, Nick Foles is a perfect example as to having a reliable backup. I mean, Carson Wentz went down. Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Nick Foles comes in, balls out, wins Super Bowl. So there's more than that. All right. How long will it take us to knock that 70? It's done. It resets every year, Phenom. So right now, dead cap, we're at a very low. We're actually at a very low minimum of dead cap right now. Brant Tillis is working that magic. He is working that magic. I understand, but I think this has to do with more with Bryce than him stepping in if need be. Right? This is more about the mentorship and development of Bryce Young. I think that's why they did it. Yeah, he also said that too. Yeah, I already reiterate that. I'm hoping he's going to talk about JC Horn here in the next, we only got like 3 minutes left. I'm hoping to hear more about JC Horn. I'm kind of interested to hear what he's going to do with that. So if hopefully there's a part in this that he talks about extending him or something.
And we'll see where that goes.
Conversations with Tommy Tremble's team like, are you happy with your tight end room right now?
Yeah, our tight end room is, pretty thin tight end room right now. Jatavian Sanders, is the frontline guy right now. That is an area that we need to address, whether in free agency or draft or both. Tommy's a guy that we would like to get back. We're going to let him test the market. We're going to let him and his agents and his team, be here and kind of see what the market is for them. And we'll circle back with them after they kind of gather that. But we would like to have them back.
Xavier will fall into that category may or may not bring back.
Yeah, I think definitely we'll let Xavier see what's out there for him, and then at the appropriate time, we'll circle back with his agents and go from there.
What's something that you learned last year?
Stupid ads. Is it only 8 million? Zach, I'm surprised it's only 8 million. To be honest with you.
That kind of changed your mindset towards the event, maybe this year?
Yeah, I think last year, just being a first-time GM, and me and Coach were actually talking about this. It's much more relaxed this time. Everything's not new for the first time, so you feel like a veteran in a sense. So you can kind of come here, you can focus on the job, and you're not so much worried about the outside things that are going to take you away from football. So Coach Canales and I have been really able to just kind of lock in and get to know these prospects as good as possible in these interviews, and just kind of.
It's a fair point. He doesn't have to worry about hiring a coach while trying to scout talent. Yeah, Zach's right. We only have 8.7 million in dead cap hit. Kendall says Tyler Warren and Sanders would be nuts, but only if we strike gold in free agency enough that we can get it. Can wait until the second round and get another guy on defense. Maybe. Yeah, 8.796. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I was looking at it over the cap, Zach. It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, our team cap salary did go up. I'll say that. So, All right, let's continue.
Really dig in on the football a lot more than what we did last year.
Should we expect a decision on Miles Sanders soon? Have you guys had discussions?
Yeah, Miles, Brant's talking to Miles' agent. We'll continue talking to him, and we'll circle back with him as well.
What are you going to do with the Rutgers contract? You got 11% of your salary.
Yeah, I think we're fine either way. We can leave the contract how it is, and we're fine from a cap perspective. So, obviously, we love Taylor. We love everything about him. So, but right now, we're just going to stay put. And Brant, myself, and Dave we'll get together at the right time and talk about his future in terms of long term.
Could potentially do something.
Yeah, I think everything's on the table. What's that? JC, Brant's talking to his representatives. They're talking. Things are moving along. So hopefully we get something done there sooner than later.
Do you have LeBron's phone number, first of all?
So basically, Fade, I'm gonna answer that question in a second. So basically, so that's good to hear. Obviously, to hear that they're trying to talk with they're trying to talk with JC Horn's people, which is good to see. Obviously, that's one of the biggest storylines this offseason for the Carolina Panthers will be extending JC Horn and confirming that there are talks with Horn's representatives that we heard right there. And that's an ongoing, and it's moving along apparently from Dan Morgan. So considering Horn's talent, but also his injury history, so how Carolina structures a potential extension will be key with him. Obviously, when healthy, Horn is a top tier corner in the NFL. Availability has been his biggest issue, but this year obviously was able to remain and stay healthy. I expect a contract that balanced the incentive-based performance with the financial security for the team. Overall, based off of Dan Morgan's press conference, man, he didn't dance around anything. The roster has holes. They know what they are. They know what he needs to improve. The defense is priority number one. They won't ignore the offense, but I think the key is going to be free agents will get their chance to explore, which we all heard about. But the Panthers aren't going to be reckless in spending. For once in my life, I can feel like hearing that and obviously waiting and see that happen. But I feel like this is something that we've always done, which is overpaid the wrong players or ignored the glaring weaknesses of our roster. So for once, we're finally seeing that. Instead, Morgan and his team are looking to build something. He's trying to build something sustainable here and starting in the trenches. Now, again, action speaks louder than words, though. Will free agency and the draft approaching Morgan? Morgan's going to have his work cut out to do. Obviously, he's going to have to turn these plans into reality. So hopefully we continue to not overpay players that aren't really the long-term solutions here, right? That's the biggest thing. We've done that too many times. Scott Fitterer did it too many times. This is what I'm hoping Dan Morgan does. I'm hoping Dan Morgan takes the defensive approach that he took in the offensive approach last year. What I mean by that is possibly finding two big name, right? One big name defensive guy and one guy and another guy that can make an impact, right? Someone that also can help, right? So kind of the way he did with the Robert Hunt and the Damian Lewis situation. So signed two big name defensive linemen or through free agency, or maybe a defensive lineman and an edge rusher, or a linebacker and an edge rusher, or a linebacker defensive lineman. However he does it, whatever way he does it, maybe that's something that they could look at doing this offseason. How they signed Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, maybe they could take that same approach, getting some help on that defensive line, and then go into the draft. And then you don't have to particularly go all defense. You can probably have some wiggle room to go offense, right? That is my hope, right? That's what I'm hoping that he's going to do. That's the approach that I'm hoping, right? So again, priority number one is defense. Hopefully they can make some moves like that, like I said, but don't neglect the offense entirely. Okay. All right. Obviously, the message is clear, ladies and gentlemen. Fix the defense. It's primary goal number one, right? All right. So, all right, let's get into Dave Canales' press conference next. Let's pull that up. How about you shut up? Stupid ads. All right. Let's see here. Let's see, Dave Canales. That's the first time you pronounced my name right, the right way. Oh man, I feel bad. I'm sorry, man. I apologize for not pronouncing it right. The emphasis on Dell. Much appreciated, my guy. 90% of people call me Kendall instead of Kendall when they see my name. My bad, man. My bad. Hey, I got it right this time. That's all that matters. And I won't and guess what, Kendall? I won't get it wrong again. It's been a long time since we attacked the defensive line. We got to. It was 2013 since we attacked the D line with Star and KK. Yep. We need to draft a nose tackle for sure. If we go all defense and Evero still can't use the talent, then he should be fired. Oh, for sure. Franchise tag for a quarterback this year is $41 million. Thank God we don't have that problem. Absolutely, Zach. You're fired. Wouldn't you like to be one of them NFL owners and tell them you're fired? You're fired. You're fired. All right. Let's get right into it. This should be interesting.
How we doing? So, man, I missed you guys. How we doing?
We're here.
No opening statements. Here we go.
So this is your second combine as a head coach. Are you approaching it any different than you did last year?
Not differently. I feel different though. I feel the time spent with Dan, with Brandt. I feel the time spent with this team. I think coming in last year, it's off of a lot of film study. Just playing coaching against the Panthers, and then watching all those games and kind of having a vision for what could potentially help us challenge our roster and take the next steps forward. But this year, really seeing guys day in and day out, really getting to know the personalities and seeing what fits, certainly from a football standpoint, football character, but then also our locker room, and who these guys are and what they stand for. So that really kind of helps sharpen my focus a little bit as I come in here. Say that again. I just kind of take it week to week. It's just a daily process of improvement, and that goes for any position, particularly the quarterback position. It's something where we should all be pushing to just try to find our best, and so my focus really just stays in the now. It stays right here. And what are the next steps, and so I kind of just try to, encourage my players as well. Block out the narratives, block out the noise, and let's just go to work. Can we do that? Can we come back to work every day, every week, look at the things. Here's what we did well. Here's what we need to improve, and then take the next steps.
Dave, along those lines,
Yeah.
last game of the season, Bryce and Penix go out and put up a ton of points. How much does that make you think about the future of the division and what you're going to be looking at years to come?
That was exciting, but it was also pretty scary, just kind of seeing, Michael Penix step up and make those plays and just really going, drive for drive, battling that way. But it was an exciting feeling to come off of that field, for sure, because we won, but also because you could just feel the sense of like, all right, here's what we have to look forward to. Here's the challenges that we have to meet, and so it does add to the urgency for all of us, to first and foremost, it starts with our division, and there's some really good teams in our division.
Dave, last year you went out and got Deontay Johnson in free agency.
Yeah.
Is getting a number one wide receiver part of the calculus?
I think we're open to trying to make any moves at every position, trying to find impact players, whether that's through development, through the guys that we have, or free agency, the draft, trades. You never know. We're always going to be open to try to find somebody that can really help us.
Coach, can you talk about the progression of Bryce Young this season? Obviously, some ups and downs there.
Okay, so basically they just asked Dave Canales about getting a true number one wide receiver is that a game plan for them this offseason, right? His response there was obviously a classic non-answer, which is they're open to making moves at every position. Translation to me, what I got from that is that they would love a top tier wide receiver, but they're not going to force getting a top tier number one wide receiver. So basically, if the right guy is available, whether it's through a trade, free agency, or the draft, I think they'll make the move. Now, if not, they will roll with what they have and try to develop the young guys. Now, this might not be what Bryce Young and the fans and some of you fans want to hear, but it's the reality of the team because of so many gaps that need to be filled. So with that being said, obviously Canales didn't outright deny the need for a game changer at receiver. He did say he would like a dynamic playmaker, right? But with so many talented wideouts in the draft, they could make an opportunity. They can make a move if that opportunity is the right one, right? I think free agency could also provide some options, though they'd likely have to pay up for that true number one wide receiver. Okay, so let's be clear on that.
What did you like from him this season and how it progressed?
Just toughness, mental toughness, emotional toughness, physical toughness, took some good shots there, and showed he can just stand in there and play good football, and just watching the weekly progression of it, that's kind of just what we talked about a little bit there, was watching as we finished each week, there was improvement. Each week there was improvement. And if you can imagine if you could just get a 1 week better for a long time, how good you can become. So I got a lot of excitement, a lot of appreciation for the way that Bryce just took a leadership role in this too, and really made statements to his teammates, in that locker room, and you can feel the respect. I'm sure all of you were around the team, the guys started to feel that like this guy's real, and so I'm excited to go into this offseason knowing we have this quarterback. Now let's start building this team and let's become the 2025 Panthers.
You talked about building the D-line this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say that this is a deep D-line class, which was maybe jive well with it. Your sense on the depth of the D-line and how it goes?
In this draft? Yeah, starters, I don't know. I think it's hard for rookies to come.
What was he saying there about Bryce?
The weekly progression of it, that's kind of just what we talked about football, and just took some good shots. Just toughness,
And obviously some ups and downs.
and somebody that can really help us.
Coach, can you talk about the progression of Bryce Young this season? Obviously some ups and downs there, but what did you like from him this season?
Now I heard this question.
Just toughness, mental toughness, emotional toughness, physical toughness, took some good shots there, and showed he can just stand in there and play good football, and just watching the weekly progression of it, that's kind of just what we talked about a little bit there, was watching as we finished each week, there was improvement. Each week there was improvement. And if you can imagine, if you could just get a 1 week better for a long time, how good you can become. So I got a lot of excitement, a lot of appreciation for the way that Bryce just took a leadership role in this too, and really made statements to his teammates, in that locker room. And you can feel the respect. I'm sure all of you around the team, the guys started to feel that, like, this guy's real, and so I'm excited to go into this offseason knowing we have this quarterback. Now let's start building this team and let's become the 2025 Panthers.
Talked about building
Then he talked about Bryce there. All right. So basically he's talking about how Bryce battle tested, basically. Particularly his mental and physical toughness and improved on a weekly basis, which he did. I mean, he said he took a beating and he never folded, and that's true. I mean, you go watch the game. You go watch the Panthers that last season. We go watch game film or whatever. Like the first 2 weeks, Bryce Young did not look like he was going to be here much longer. Let's be honest, right? Then we started finding. So then Dalton comes in, takes over the starting role, and and then gets the car accident. Bryce gets a second chance. And at that point, the stats weren't pretty. But the fact that he kept showing up and improving in a brutal situation is something that as for Dave Canales, clearly values, right? Which means that they believe that he can take another step forward, right? And especially if they continue to build around him. Whether, again, whether they're building the offensive line, the defensive line, the wide receiver room, the tight ends, whatever, right? They need to continue to build this team around Bryce. The next stop is obviously the defensive front, but they can possibly Bryce could start finally showing why he was drafted number 1 overall, and I think we saw a lot of signs of that in the last 10 weeks. So, let's continue though.
Yeah.
Say this is a deep line class, which was maybe jive well with it. Your sense on the depth of the line and how it goes.
In this draft, yeah, starters, I don't know. I think it's hard for rookies to come into this league and just jump off and be starters. The expectation and the opportunities are there for these guys, but I think there's just a lot of quality players that fit the traits, that have the physical attributes, and have the play style and all that. And so, I think that's a cool thing for us, as we continue to build our defense. Like, let's be honest, we know we have to address the run game. We know it starts up front. We did that on the offensive line last year. So we're very clear about that being, a high priority.
Okay, fixing the run game. Trench warfare begins, ladies and gentlemen. He obviously didn't sugarcoat it there. He just said we have to address the run game. It's all about up front. What that translates to me is that the offensive line continue. We need to continue to have build this offensive line or bring back the guys, the continuity that we got that they know, which likely means that they may end up bringing in some talent, right, on the offensive line. They may go out in the draft and go get a Jonah Monaheim out of USC to become, their center for the future, or go get a guy, I can't remember his name, out of Florida to be the predecessor of Taylor Moton, right? So, but this likely means that from what he's telling me from that translation there is that they're going to be aggressive and talented, I think, on both sides of the ball, right, this offseason. Obviously, like I said, it's going to be either whether it comes through the draft, free agency, I expect some new faces in the trenches, or maybe some same ones that they were able to get for the right price, right? Everything's got to be at the right price for the Carolina now. They're not doing this overpaid for guys who are not going to be long-term solutions, okay? again, obviously Dave Canales' focus is to have a strong run game um, with a young quarterback, and that is young quarterback's best friend is a run game. And right now, I think Bryce Young needs that to continue to develop. Yes, he needs a true number one wide receiver, but I think the run game takes the pressure off the quarterback, right? So, and I think we saw that last year with Chuba Hubbard. You don't want your offense to be just a one-dimensional offense. You want to make Bryce Young's job as easy. So I think that they're still going to build up in the trenches. I think even on the offensive line, I won't be surprised if they target a right tackle to be a predecessor for for Taylor Moton, and it wouldn't surprise me if they try to get a center as well, whether that's through free agency or draft, right? But also obviously, again, I get it. I know you don't have to tell me because I feel like some of y'all might be like, well, Clay, defense is priority number one. That's true. It is. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if they go out and get some more interior help on the other side. All right. They want to be overly physical. They want to win the physicality on the trenches. Between what I'm understanding from Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, they want to win the physicality up front on both sides of the ball. That's how they want to build this thing. So is Jonathan Brooks done with football? So Dan Morgan came out and said there's no timeline on his recovery, right? Meaning his status is just a giant question mark at this point, right? I doubt that he'll be able to return. I doubt that he returns this season. I'm not going to say he's done for football for good, but I doubt he returns this season. I do. I don't think we see Jonathan Brooks take a snap at all this season. Not with an AC, not tearing the same ACL
for us, but I think the challenge now is because we do see a lot more players available is really digging into the character, really digging into the fit. Do these guys look like Panthers as we go through this process and meet them and watch them, and talk to the people that are around their schools, and so it's a really important one for us.
Do you think about the balance of putting together a roster? I mean, how many rookies can you stand and put on the field at one time? Is there a ceiling on that?
I don't know that answer. I just know that I am for playing rookies right away. I want them to. The only way to get that experience is to be out there, is to live it, is to feel the accountability from their teammates, and have them elevate their urgency, in an appropriate way, so that they can see how important this is. These opportunities are for everybody, not just for themselves, But so I don't know what that number is, but I do know that the sooner they play, the sooner they can find good football and find a style that fits them within our team.
Dave, you've made some coaching changes. I was just curious if you could take us through the process of how much was it Evero recruiting guys? How much did you weigh in on that process? And why were those guys the right fit?
Yeah, it was collaborative. It was, a bunch of Zooms, talking to different coaches, looking for the right mix. You want to try to, in every staff, you want to try to have enough experience and you want to have enough juice. And sometimes you get both, but to have that kind of combination was really important for us. And so we went through that process all.
Yeah, let's pause that there. And Zach, yeah, I mean, he's like rookies, throw them in the fire. Like he's all about playing the rookies early. It helps test their accountability to their teammates, like he said. That means if Panthers draft a guy high, don't expect a redshirt year for him. He's going to be on the field. This approach to me could be a great one for player development, but it also means growing pains come along with that. So I expect to see some mistakes early, especially from guys like that. Also, some much needed fresh energy on the field, though. All right. So so many positions in need of reinforcement here, right? Obviously on the defensive line, right? You got edge rusher, linebacker, corner, safety, receiver, tight end, halfback. Like, it's so many holes. I expect the Panthers to draft players who can obviously contribute immediately, right? Let's continue though.
Together and really put our heads together and made some decisions with Ronaldo Hill, who brings a lot of experience, a lot of especially in our scheme. He's been in different versions of our defensive scheme, so he's got a lot to bring to the table and developing young players, whether it be at the safety position, nickels, even corners. He's done a great job there. AC Carter. He's got some experience with the Jarrow going back to Denver, but just his reputation working with pass rushers, working with those guys up front who have to be confrontational and have to be detailed. And so we did our homework and talked to a lot of guys that he had worked with as well. And he's a juice guy, and he his whole thing is around relationship, which I really truly believe if you can develop that relationship and that joint vision, you can help guys achieve their best. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. Yeah, just I think when I think about this whole offseason, and really this whole past year, the conversations with Dan and Brant was, guys, let's be honest and let's be really courageous about our processes, evaluating them, scrutinizing them. Let's be critical. Let's see what's working, but let's also not just say, hey, this is just how things are always done. Let's challenge our processes and let's find ways that we can improve this team and really pursue our best, and that's really how we came to the decision to hire Denny Kellington with his medical background and some of the success that the Bills have had over the last couple of years in terms of player availability. Josh Hinks is a guy that I've known for a while. And just to feel like when you're around Josh, to feel the energy, to feel the detail, he brings a lot of things to the table in terms of training, but also with the sports science background to be able to tie that in. But just filling the environment with people that are going to develop their staff, that are going to grow our players and get them out there. The bottom line is when we bring these great players in, let's make sure that they're available.
New Lux Cravings by
Taco Bell. Order now and you'll have exploding diarrhea.
He seemed excited with the OTAs, and how was that foot surgery impact his continued development?
I'm not really sure timeline-wise, but I know I've seen him around a little bit, and he's got a smile on his face. I think he feels a sense of like, man, I can get my body back. I'm so excited for X to take the next step this year. Robb Moore's really excited, to be able to continue to build off of the things. Again, guy played a lot this year, which is huge for rookies to be out there, and to just be able to take those lessons and build off it. We're really excited for X.
With your coaching staff, you have a run game coordinator, pass game coordinator, in addition to an offensive coordinator. You also have other coordinators on the defensive side. What is your philosophy in having guys with those titles and having that kind of specialization on the coaching staff?
Yeah, just bringing really talented coaches on your staff in whatever capacity that you can, and just trying to make sure that we create an environment where we can utilize all the information. So it doesn't help you if you have a bunch of good coaches, but you can't filter it all in and have it be actionable. And so I think just having some people with those experiences, and also the expectation, like when you're given those titles, that means something. That means that we're expecting you to bring in a level of expertise to those areas and to see that growth, So it's opportunity. It comes with responsibility, and so we like to kind of build that out that way.
Interesting. So she asked him about a coaching change. And when he was asked about, and obviously you heard it, he emphasized that the decisions were collaborative, that adding someone with Juice's experience was the key part of the process. If you don't know who Juice is, go look him up. But that suggests that there was a clear plan in place rather than a panic move, which should be at least the reassuring for us as Panthers fans. The staff is being built with a vision in mind Whether that vision translates to wins or, or it's another story, right? I mean, new coaching hires brings fresh ideas, new systems, which means the team's approach on offense, defense, player development could shift differently. But obviously, Canales appears confident that this new group will help maximize the talent on this roster, and ultimately their success will be judged on the results. Let's continue.
Staff's grown in size and specialization among its assistants.
I've kind of seen a couple of different models, so I think that there are certain staffs that have a lot of coaches on their staff. I think we're kind of in the middle in terms of utilizing that. And I think the most important part is just find value, be an expert at something, and where someone may have a niche. When you have those assistant titles, find a way to help your boss. Can I help Brian Schottenheimer be a great offensive coordinator as his quarterback's coach, or Shane Waldron as the pass game coordinator? Just find ways to make these guys excellent and try to just fill in the voids of where they're stretched thin a little bit time-wise, and see if you can take something off their plate. And that comes with trust, for sure. But I love it. I love having, the different coaches with different specialties.
What's the biggest challenge you faced as a first-year coach, play caller? Time management. How did you work all that out?
George Lee, yeah, he's our game management director, and he does a great job. And he's peppering me with different situations that come up throughout the week. He and I have been already just through this process looking at all the playoff games to see the situations that come up, end of half, end of game. Using your challenges, those different types of things. And so I really felt covered by him to be able to kind of give me a heads up on things that might come up so that I can be focused on making the next call. Certainly when we're on the defensive side, then there's more of an open dialogue, with some of those things. But I really lean on George, and he does a great job for me.
And as the play caller, was it hard to coach the whole team because you're so specific on the offensive side of the ball?
There were challenges, yes.
Why don't we pick up Najee Harris? Again, I don't think it's something that they're not, like he said, we're open to all people and positions. Again, it's going to come down to if the price is right. That's really it, Josh. That is really it. All it matters is as long as that price is right.
Especially when you're in year one of an offensive system, there were certainly challenges, but that's where, I can rely on guys like Ajero. I can rely on Brad Idzik, to keep the thing moving, and so that I can make my way around the different parts of our team and make sure that at a minimum that I'm impacting the culture and environment that we're looking for, that we're excited to be here, and that we show up for these players with an excitement, because they'll go as we go, and create that platform where the guys can have, resources to take the next steps to find their best.
This time last year was the first for you and Dan together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think knowledge of our roster. I got to be around the guys. Dan could kind of, fill in some of the gaps. But as I've been around the players, then we can kind of, continue that alignment in those conversations. Dreaming about what this team could be and doing that together. Tons of conversations between he and I and Brent, our text chain and phone calls that happen. I feel so much more. I feel so much more clarity about where we need to go, what we need to address, and how we can utilize different players because of spending that time together.
I switched. Everyone's switching to Red Pocket, your new ultimate cell carrier. They're the only carrier who gives you all three. One super low price.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be built around toughness. It's going to be built around playing great defense in the run game. And we know we have a lot of things to address from a defensive standpoint to take those strides. It's clear, people can see the challenges that we saw from a defensive standpoint. But I see our scheme work around the league. I've seen Ajero at the highest form, in Denver and, here in Carolina 2 years ago. So I know what this scheme can be. We know what we were missing. let's make sure we have those pieces so that we can be an attacking style of defense, and make it really challenging on opposing offenses. Let's make sure we can continue to run the ball, and let's try to find a way to get some explosives going from an offensive standpoint. And from a special team standpoint, the draft is where that happens. When we can identify players who can add value in the coverage units or as a returner, in those ways, when we can find those guys, wherever that's at in the draft, that's when you become special. In terms of the special teams production, it's usually those young guys who are maybe the backup at their position, but this is a phenomenal athlete who's tough with high character. He's going to go down and do something. So that's when I've seen the best units come alive.
With Derek and Shaq missing so much of last season, and obviously Shaq got out to some free agency, how much did JC and where did you notice maybe the leadership on the defense throughout the season? Maybe not just with him.
I would say specifically talking about JC, I saw a guy that was just so focused on helping the team, on being out there, on making sure that his body was right.
3 minutes left on this final press conference. Make sure you guys pound that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm going to obviously continue in the last 3 minutes, and I'll give you my final thoughts.
I wasn't around JC before, but what I saw was just this professionalism, this way that he went about his week, his body readiness, his mental preparation, his film study, all those habits. I just saw him give us something so solid and stable for other guys to see. This is how you achieve excellence, and I love the fact that he was recognized for it with the Pro Bowl and all that. But I thought that was inevitable if he could just be out there, but he brought that to us, so I thought that was really important for JC to be somebody that people can look at.
In the scouting process, currently you in the front office, what are some challenges you see that arise, especially recently with players, college players who have transferred maybe usually once or maybe 2 or 3 times in their college career?
It's really, I don't see it as a challenge. I think the opportunity is you have 2 schools you can ask about the player. Do their stories corroborate, or was he one guy here and then somebody different? So I think you have more eyes on these players, which does help us evaluate the character, and kind of go into those things. I understand players that, have opportunities financially to go from one school to the next. That makes sense. They don't know how long their careers are. So all these things kind of help us, to be able to evaluate them. There is some challenges in terms of if they're going from one scheme to the next. Sometimes there's a little bit of a hurdle for them trying to learn a new system, but there's information that you can gather about that as well.
Last question, you know now what you needed on defense.
Stop the run. Whatever that looks like, you can affect the run different ways. You can affect the run with your interior play. You can affect the run with good, solid setting edges from the outside linebacker play. You can affect the run from a safety standpoint who shows up and plays the C area with aggression. There's different ways, but at a minimum is finding guys who just give great effort and just lay their whole body out to make this play happen and work together. So there's a lot of those things that we have to, look at, but inside linebacker, all those different positions, you're looking for the types of players that are combative by nature, that love the physical part of the play, because that's where it starts.
Coach, you and Dan Morgan have Seattle ties. What did you guys learn in Seattle, and how did that help your career?
Man, I mean, that's a very generous question that I could talk about for a long time. I would say in general, though, it's about creating the environment and the culture where we're showing up every day to find our best. That was a pursuit of Pete's. That was a pursuit of John Schneider's. Excellence, striving for excellence, challenging all your processes, challenging your roster and going for it, and I think that making sure that you have people that live like that, players, staff, everybody, the entire culture, we are pushing the limits. We're trying to find best practices and competing to find that every day. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
All right. So, basically overall, if you read between the lines of that presser for me from a Dave Canales standpoint, the message is clear for me from what I got from him is that they know what they have to do. They know what they have to work with. They're going to start in the trenches, defensive line. Obviously, it's priority number one. I do think that they're going to make some offensive line moves as well. Wide receiver help coming if the opportunity presents itself, right? Bryce Young has full support of this staff. Rookies will get a chance to prove themselves right out the gate, right? So again, Dan Morgan, Dave Canales obviously have a game plan. All right. We're trying to get back to relevancy here, right? They seem to have the plan. It's just a matter of them executing it, right? So we'll see if they execute that plan going forward. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. And let me just show you how easy. So I appreciate everyone. Again, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the Ropp Star Report. Sign up for free today. Get 125% bonus up on your first bet up to $2,000. Also, follow me on TikTok. It's the same thing as my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter there. As you can see, trying to grow there. Again, guys, going to have constant content coming out to you guys. And again, I appreciate everyone who comes on here and shows me love and support each and every day. So appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow. And as always, guys, keep pounding. I'm out. Peace.